are so glad that you're here tonight. In fact, on a hot July night, I just commend all of you for coming. It's just wonderful to have you. My name is Pam Clopel, and I'm president of People for Portsmouth. And we have a mission to achieve good governance in Portsmouth through voter registration, education, and participation. And this is your participation tonight. We will support candidates who govern with transparency and responsiveness, who want to achieve financial stability, who want to encourage business growth, who want to assure equal protection and justice for all citizens, who want to prepare all children for educational success. We want to capitalize on the diversity of Portsmouth's people, its history, and its natural resources. This year, as you learned last month, we plan to impact the constitutional officer election. Because last month we had the Sheriff's Forum. How many were here for that? Okay, a lot of you were here for the Sheriff's Forum. Mike Moore, Glenn Perry, and Bill Watson were also all at the forum. And we asked you to vote on who you wanted for sheriff. And we have counted those votes, and they will be used in our endorsement. Next month, we will have the forum for candidates running for Commonwealth Attorney. We only have two, Stephanie Morales, the current Commonwealth Attorney, and T.J. Wright. So we had 3 last month, we have 3 today, and we will have 2 then. Tonight, we will meet the candidates running for treasurer. They are Paige Cherry, Elizabeth Simmons, and Ron Melton. Each position will be decided November 7th, when we elect also the governor, the lieutenant governor, our members to the General Assembly, as well as our constitutional officers. So that's going to be a busy day. Put it on your calendar. We want everyone to vote. We invited the members of the Martin Luther King Political Action Committee and the NAACP to join us tonight. How many are you from those groups? Okay, we've got 1, 2, 3, welcome. We're glad to have you. We hope you come again. Again, tonight is the Treasurer's Forum. What does the treasurer do? Well, you know what he or she does, because you give money to the person all the time. Jimmy, is that right? Where are you, Jimmy? There you are, okay, our current treasurer. So correct me if I'm wrong, okay? The treasurer collects and receives all city taxes, levies, assessments, license taxes, rents, fees, and all other revenues or monies accrued in the city. He collects state income tax and estimated tax. He or she is the custodian of all public monies of the city and all other monies coming into the hands of the city treasurer. What did I miss? Say again?
You did well.
Okay, thank you. I took it off your website. Okay.
Just say et cetera,
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. People for Portsmouth distributed a survey asking what questions you wanted to be asked of the treasurer, candidates. And so we're using your questions tonight, just like we used the questions for the sheriff. After we have the formal part of the forum, we're going to open the mics for you all to ask questions that may not have been answered. Our timer is Amy Creekmore, and she's got her yellow paddles and her red paddles. We have the question chair, Julie Boone, and back by demand is our moderator, Steve Batten. He did so well last time that we asked him to come back. We're just delighted to have you. Steve started as a broadcaster at the ripe old age of 11, absolutely 11. And so he has had many gigs, so to speak, and he is back with us, and he is working now in Pungo and serves as a mortgage officer for one of the top 10 mortgage companies in America. So we're delighted he agreed to come back, and thank you very much, Steve. Now I'm going to turn it over to Steve, and so you're on. And thank you all for coming, and any questions that we do not ask, you will have a chance to ask when it's over. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, and thank you for having me back. I appreciate it. Just a couple of quick things. This is being taped tonight, so I've been asked to advise you that especially during the question segment, when we'll come to you, the audience, for questions, if you do not wish to be taped, you need to let that be known, that you don't want to be taped, so they can stop the taping. Also, all of tonight's questions were composed from responses to the Survey Monkey survey that was sent out to our supporters, and people for Portsmouth would like to take this opportunity to thank the supporters for taking the survey. By the way, one quick note, I do live in Virginia Beach, and Mr. Treasurer, when they introduced the John T. Atkinson in Virginia Beach, our standard response across the board is boo. So good for you that you got some class. The order of the questions, you all know, was agreed upon. We'll ask the questions in that order first, and then we're going to mix it up based on that original order. Before we do that, we're going to ask that each of you do an opening statement. You have 3 minutes to introduce yourself, and we'll start with Paige Cherry.
Thank you. Good evening. Good evening. I'm Paige Cherry. I currently serve as the Vice Mayor of the City of Portsmouth. And I'm running for City Treasurer as an opportunity to continue to serve. I've served our country, Desert Storm, received a Bronze Star for that. Shortly after that, I came to Portsmouth, where I started serving on boards and commissions. And I learned about the City of Portsmouth. I learned about housing, development, planning, finance, and that readied me for the position of council person. Then I joined the City Council, became the council go-to person for budgets and finance matters. This is something you well know. But during this time, I spent 25 years working for the federal government. After that, in resource management, in housing, finance, acquisition, contracting. And now I oversee the medical budget for 42 Coast Guard clinics across 12 districts with 136 bays, about $21 million a day. It's part of a $400 million budget. And I want to bring that service and that experience that I have to bear for the City of Portsmouth and the Treasurer's Office to ensure that we have top-notch service. There's a fine office with some fine employees, but now that Mr. Williams is leaving, they're going to need some fine leadership. I manage an organization that's bi-coastal. I have persons who work for me in Norfolk, Alameda, California, and we have derivatives in all the 42 Coast Guard clinics that are across the continental United States, to include Hawaii and Alaska. So I want to bring these skills to bear for you, to be your next treasurer, to ensure that your money is safeguarded, invested properly, and returned, and that each citizen, every citizen, gets a fair and opportunity to pay their taxes, not just on time, but in a manner that is conducive to their financial situation. So our young, our elderly, and our low income will have other opportunities to pay their taxes that won't be a burden to them. So thank you, and I solicit your support. And on November 7th, if you want to vote for experience, vote for Paige Cherry.
All right, thank you. Next, for your introduction, sir, Ron Melton.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank the people of Portsmouth for supporting this forum tonight. And I'd like to thank all of you for taking your time out of your busy day to come tonight to get involved in your city government. I'm Ron Melton, candidate for city treasurer. I am a native of Portsmouth, born and raised. Went to Wilson High School. I served in the Virginia Army National Guard, and while doing so, I earned my Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration from Christopher Newport College of the College of William and Mary. I started my financial background with Nissan Motor Corporation as the regional supervisor for administrative services there. I handled the dealer network accounts receivable management. From there, I went to Portsmouth General Hospital, where I was the director of patient accounting and I handled over 40 people, as well as bad debt collection. I have served in the city treasurer's office now for over a decade. My current position is personal property supervisor, where we have an annual billing of over $23 million. I'm also involved in other areas of the treasurer's office, to include state income tax, real estate tax, and other local taxes. What I'd like to say to you tonight is that I have the education, the qualifications, and the experience to be the next city treasurer. Thank you so much.
And now, Ms. Simmons, if you would, please.
Thank you, people for Portsmouth, for allowing us to do this and introduce ourselves to the community. I am Elizabeth Simmons, and most of you know that I have served on and off for 12 years on the Portsmouth City Council. I'm a native of Portsmouth. I'm a business owner. My company, Travel Designers, will turn 30 in February. I'm very proud of that. You may not know that in my earliest careers, I managed personnel for Allied Marine Industries, tankermen and port engineers, over 100 men and women. And in my role as owner of Travel Designers, of course, I've managed multiple locations, employees, issues with employees, paying bills on time, budgets, all of those kinds of things. But this treasurer's job, let's face it, it's not about knowing how to post a payment. This is an administrative position that requires trust from you and knowing how to get the job done and knowing how to leverage the city council. And who knows better how to do that than me? And knowing how to leverage and work with our delegates and senators in Richmond. There is a State Treasurers Association that does a very good job for the General Assembly. This is an administrative position. It's important that you trust the person that you're going to basically give about $2.5 billion to over the next 4 years to make sure it's accounted for properly, make sure collections are done in an even-handed way, and get the job done so you're not embarrassed. You know, we don't want another situation where we look like Norfolk. We need to be proud and happy with the way the Treasurer's Office is working, that the people are treating us fairly and nicely, and that those folks are also working well with the Portsmouth City government. I think that's so important that our Commissioner of Revenue and Treasurer's Office work well with city government because they all work for us, the citizens. So I ask for your support. I ask for your trust on November 7th. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Now we'll start with our questions, and keep in mind you have two minutes to respond to these questions, and we'll start in that same order. First, we'll start with Paige Cherry. Confusion remains about why, as head of the city's Democratic Party, you missed the party's filing deadline for this election. Was that an error or a decision? Please explain your attitude towards deadlines, since the Treasurer's Office must meet reporting deadlines imposed upon the office and must enforce deadlines imposed on Portsmouth citizens.
First of all, that was not intentional. I've been with the Portsmouth Democratic Committee for over 20 years, served in several positions there. The reporting was, the information was sent to have but it was sent for the delegates' positions. It was not sent for the constitutional officers. But it was out there. It was out there to be had, and I didn't go get it. That's not an excuse, that's the fact. But that's not always the same. As the years go by, as the senator can tell you, there was some time when you automatically have a primary unless you request it otherwise. So the process changed with administrations. And I've been there for that process for 20 years. So there's no way I would do it intentionally. no purpose for me. I had nothing to gain by doing it intentionally because I wasn't running as a Democrat anyway, because I'm a federal employee and I couldn't run as a Democrat, so it wouldn't have benefited me at all. I'm probably the only person who got hurt by it, because those who didn't have to run the primary didn't have to spend the money, didn't have to campaign, didn't do anything. They had to go to the caucus, which I'm participated in, so they got to be the automatic nominee in some cases. So no, it was simply a matter of, there was an email out there that I didn't read that had that information in it. They asked me to go to a website to pull that document down. But I returned the documents that were sent to me, and I got information back from the party that said, everything's fine. If we need anything else, we'll let you know. But no one will ever let me know, so I never returned anything else. But I will take full responsibility for that. I probably should have went to my email better. But you know, I have a lot of things going on, and I just missed that one email. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your answer. Ron Melton, you have the second question. Please describe your current duties in the Treasurer's Office and your place on the third tier of the organizational chart. How has your position prepared you to assume the duties of Treasurer?
Well, yes, right now, the office title I have is Supervisor of Personal Property Tax. And I take that very seriously. We sent out over 68,000 bills just in the month of April, which you all know. You probably paid it, right? You're all current on your taxes. Shake your heads, yes. Very good. Okay. So along with that comes the process of our collection activity. I'm responsible for the billing all the way through our distress collection activity. I think that I have been prepared for the job of treasurer just because I have the management experience and I have the technical background to operate this office. I have been involved in all facets of the office, not to include all tax areas, real estate, personal property, local taxes, which we call food tax, cigarette tax, all levels of the tax areas in the office. I feel like I am the most qualified person for this job based on my qualifications again, my experience, my education, and I want to just continue to tell you that because I think I'm the most qualified person to have this job. Thank you.
Third question, Elizabeth Simmons. Last year you campaigned for a seat on the City Council, promising voters the city would benefit from your years of experience on previous city councils, your connections and influence on regional boards and commissions, and your commitment to stabilizing our government. You won the seat, celebrated your victory, then 6 months later you announced that you wanted to abandon your new seat on the council to run for city treasurer. How do you justify this change of heart to organizations that endorsed you and to voters who elected you to serve on the City Council for 4 years?
You all know I've been a public servant for many years. And quite frankly, the honest answer is that last year, my intention was to resign from the City Council at the end of my term because I was so disgusted with the city government at the time. It was not until we convinced John Rowe to run for mayor that I agreed to run for re-election to my seat. And indeed, that was a joyous time, and indeed, the city is in a much better position today and stabilized than it was this time last year. It's a pleasure and a joy to work with the majority of the members of the City Council now. We get along very well and get a lot of work done. But I had some people approach me about running for treasurer when we learned that Jimmy was retiring. And the fact of the matter is, I have a unique set of qualifications to run this office. There's a reason that we don't appoint the financial personnel to the treasurer's role. It is a political position. It is not just punching cards and taking payments. And I am asking you, the people of the city, to trust me to take this office to the next level, you know, for technology, for location of services. Let's get more done on the internet. As a business owner, I get infuriated when I have to go down to City Hall and walk back and forth between the Commissioner and the Treasurer's office just to pay a bill. For some simple things like small businesses like mine, it seems like we ought to be able to just punch a couple of buttons on the internet and get the bill paid. It's not that complicated. But that will be up to the voters if you trust me to take this office to the next level and put my skills to use as an administrator. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Now, the order of questions will change as we move forward. So this next round, Elizabeth Simmons, you will have the first question. How will your life change if you win this election? How will it change if you are not elected? For example, do you intend to keep your seat on council for the remainder of your term?
If I win the election, I will not keep my seat on council for the remainder of my term, no.
No, the question was, how will your life change if you win and
Okay.
if you are not elected? For
Okay.
example, do you intend to keep your seat on council if not elected
Oh,
for this
okay,
term?
thank you.
Sorry if I wasn't clear.
Yeah, sorry. Because you actually could do that, I think, which is bizarre. No, when I win, I will resign my seat on council effective December 31st, take over as treasurer on January 1st. Yes, my life will change. Being treasurer is a full-time commitment, a full-time job. As you all know, I have a business that has been my full-time career. That business will close its offices, and I will still do some very small travel work in my free time, which will be quite different as treasurer than it is as a council member. The treasurer doesn't go to the thousands of activities that happen in the city and doesn't have 5 or 6 meetings a month in the evening. So I'm going to have a lot of different kinds of time. My intention would be as treasurer to participate in city activities more than most probably commissioners and treasurers do, because that's my experience. I want the treasurer's office to be involved with the city and city government and the citizens, know about Civic League activities and that sort of thing. So yeah, my life will change dramatically. I'll be going to City Hall 40 hours a week and not to travel designers.
Thank you. Paige Cherry, essentially the same question. How will your life change if you are elected treasurer? How will it change if you are not elected? For example, will you run for re-election to council next year?
Of course, if I'm elected treasurer, I will resign my seat, just as Elizabeth said, on December 31st and take the office. If I'm elected, my life will change drastically. I currently go to Norfolk every day to work for the Coast Guard, where I will see those 42 Coast Guard clinics and 21 million hours a day. I wouldn't be doing that. I would have to retire from that position for my 32 years of federal government service in December. And if I am not reelected, I plan to continue to serve as your vice mayor right now for as long as you have me. But that's not my question, because I'm really planning on winning this election, becoming your next treasurer. You talked about trust, because I'll be trusted. I myself, we talked about $2 million, $2 billion. I processed $1.3 billion of contracts by myself in 1 year for headquarters trade out. So the big numbers are nothing new to me. You need some, and I oversee 3 administrative sections right now for the federal government. Bi-coastal. This job is about more than just collecting the taxes. It's about managing people, places, and things, and infrastructure. That's what I do every day, and have done for the last 32 years in service to this community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And the final question of this round, Ron Melton. What insights about taxpayers have you gained from working in the treasurer's office for the last 10 years?
I will say this about the insights I've gained. Taxes should not be a burden for people. I've had a lot of people come through my office, thousands. They come in, they're upset, they're crying. I keep tissues in the office. 99.9% of the time when they leave, They might not be happy, but at least they understand their tax situation. Taxes, again, should not be a burden. They are a necessary, I don't want to say necessary evil, but they are. To run this city, the infrastructure has to run on tax dollars. I know that it's, my insight into this is that we have to have the taxes paid. We need to work with the people, the citizens of this city, to get them paid. And I have some innovative ideas, I think, that come along, such as our new electronic billing service, hopefully, for personal property tax. Right now, you get a paper bill. But I do think that people should be able to come in and have a discussion about their taxes with the people that work in the office and walk away with the knowledge that they will be able to pay their taxes and not feel burdened by the taxes that they have to pay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now, the next round of questions, these are general questions, and you'll each have an opportunity to answer the same question. We're going to start with Ron Melton again with this one. The question is, what special talents, insights, and skills do you have that will make you the best candidate for city treasurer? Then we'll come to you, Ms. Siemens, and then to you, Mr. Cherry.
Well, as I explained earlier, my education, my experience in the treasurer's office. I also hold the designation of Master Governmental Deputy Treasurer, which I obtained through University of Virginia's Weldon Cooper Center of Continuing Studies. Right now, I'm involved in the third part of a three-part governmental accounting certificate, which I will finish next month through Radford University in conjunction with the Treasurers Association of Virginia. Those things, those certifications, coupled with, again, my education and my experience in the office, again, I believe make me the best qualified candidate for this job. I feel like I have the compassion, the initiative, and the insight to be the best treasurer. Again, it's education, it's qualifications, and it is my experience in the office that make me the best qualified candidate. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Elizabeth Simmons, same question, and I apologize for mispronouncing your name a moment ago. I hate it when people call me Baton. So, what special talents, insights, and skills do you have that will make you the best candidate for city treasurer?
Well, I think you all know I'm trustworthy. I'm very organized. I could never have spent 30 years doing travel work if I wasn't extremely organized and on time. But I think you have to realize that, you know, you don't hire the guy that works in the bank to be the bank president. Ron's a great guy. He's very well organized. He's very well educated. And I look forward to him serving in my administration as treasurer. But the fact of the matter is, I bring unique skills to this position. And there's a reason that we elect a treasurer as opposed to appointing someone from the office. There is a reason the Constitution was set up for the City Council to set the tax rates, for the Commissioner to make the assessments, and the Treasurer to collect the taxes. So not one person is in charge of everything. This is about having a well-educated, organized, trustworthy person that you trust with your money. And I'm that person.
All right, thank you. Paige Cherry, what special talents, insights, and skills do you have that will make you the best candidate for city treasurer?
Well, I'm a manager, I'm a leader, I've done it all my life. Just for the record, I have a bachelor's in business administration with a concentration in housing management. I have a master's in public administration with a concentration in public management, and a graduate certificate in operations research systems analysis. It's a graduate level in engineering. But I've spent my life, the last 25 years, in pursuit of the things that this office needs. A manager, a leader, someone who can work with the city council. It's very important that your treasurer knows all aspects of the city. Those 18 years I spent serving on all those boards and commissions taught me all of that. The 7 years I've spent on the Portsmouth City Council talking about budgets. Some of you will recall a few years ago, John Rowe proposed a 17-cent tax increase. Thank him for that, because it gave the council a wake-up call to the things we were doing and how we were spending our money. But it was I who devised the method to bring that 17 cents down to 0, and then brought it back up to 3 to give our school system a raise. That's the kind of talent you need in the treasurer's office. Someone the treasurer does a lot of things. You got to understand contracting. We write the checks. You will recall that there was a time when the employees spent about $2 million of city money on projects that weren't approved by the city council. Well, I know the council rules say the manager can only spend $100,000 without coming back to council. And a regular employee or department head shouldn't be able to spend $2 million. When I'm the city treasurer, that won't happen because I know what the rules are. I won't write that check. I'll call the mayor, I'll call the city manager, so did you approve this? Or better yet, my office will stay in touch with council. We'll be at council meetings, and we'll know what's approved and what's not, and that won't happen again. Because we end up selling that property, that $2 million worth of equipment, for pennies on the dollars. That is, you know how much that is on the tax rate? You divide $600,000 by $2 million, that's how much money we could have saved had I been the city treasurer.
All right, thank you, sir. Now, the next question, Paige Cherry, you'll go first on this one. The same question again for all three of you. What qualifications do you have to hold the office?
Said them, but I'll restate them. I have the educational background. I do work every day for a living. I oversee 42 clinics, $21 million, part of a $400 million budget. Just last week, I was given another $16 million in contracts to manage for the United States government. So I have the trust. Your government has trusted me with billions of dollars over the lifetime of my working career. And I want to bring that same trust, that same experience to the city to manage your funds properly. So if you combine it with my service to the city, my service to this country, my qualifications, my work that I do every day, with my knowledge of the city, I am the perfect fit. You know, and as was said, you often bring, when people are going to hire a new CEO, they often don't get the CEO, the guy who's there. They go out and get someone who has experience who bring a fresh look to the office. I can come in that office with my experience, manage the bi-coastal office, look around, see what maybe need to be improved, what we can enhance with the different things that I learned in the financial systems that I spent my last 25 years working with. No one else up here can do that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ron Melton, same question.
I think I've answered that question. I think it was asked earlier. I'm not going to bore you with the same details that I gave you before about my education, my qualifications, my experience. But I want to go back to what Ms. Simmons said earlier about bringing a fresh look. Working in this treasurer's office, for me, is a seamless transition from my office to the treasurer's desk. I believe opposite. I believe that you have to know the operation from the bottom up. You have to work there, you have to know the people you work with, you have to know your customer base, and you have to know all of the workings so that you can make a seamless transition from my position into the treasurer's office job. It's just my philosophy that you go from where I sit, actually it's literally next door, I just move over. It's a promotion for me. I'm not political. I'm not looking to be politicized here. I feel like I've earned this promotion. I've been in there for over a decade, worked in all types of tax situations. I know it from the bottom up. Thank you.
Elizabeth Simmons, same question.
Unfortunately, in politics, these positions are never earned. It's not the way it works. You need to find somebody who you know is well educated, Okay, I have a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science with a minor in Economics from the University of Richmond. I've owned a business and been in business and had employees in multiple locations for 29 years. I've worked in city government for 12 years. I will bring a very unique perspective to this position. I know how to handle employees. I know how to work with city government. I know how to work with the legislature. That's what this job is. Again, this is not about knowing how to post payments at the clerk's desk. And for that matter, may I say, even though it's not part of this question, the first thing I would do is open up that office. I told Frankie Edmondson recently, his office has such a fresh, open look. And on the other side of the hall, the treasurer's office is all closed in cubicles. It doesn't look inviting. It doesn't look like anybody wants to talk to you. It looks like they're hiding. That's one of the first things I want to do is open that office up a little bit. But you just need somebody that you know you can trust to deal with the position. Now, can you trust all of us? Probably. Are we all well-educated and ready to do the job and want to do the job? Yes. You have to make a decision which of us you think would do the job the best. It's not about who earned the job. It's who you think will do the best job for you. That's what an election is all about. Over the next few months, you know, you're going to learn more about each of us. Then you're going to hear some crazy things that aren't true. I would encourage all of you to come 3 weeks from tonight, August 17th, to my campaign kickoff, which is on the Cary Beach Shore Boat at the foot of High Street at 5:30 p.m. Thank you.
All right, you're going to have the first crack at the next question also, so that's so you know. The next question, what changes, if any, would you make in the way the treasurer's office is managed?
I don't know how I would make changes in the way the treasurer's office is managed, other than I think it's very important that we get the best technology we can. And I don't know that the treasurer's office has the best technology that is integrated as well as it could be and should be with the city finance system. And I would hope that we could work through that. As far as management, because I'm not there, I don't know. I know that my dealings with the people who work in the treasurer's office now have all been fantastic. I have no hangers-on that I intend to bring in as deputies and do other jobs. You know, my intent is to go in and, you know, obviously take a look at all the employees, but my hope would be that they would all stay and do the good job that they're doing right now. Because as a taxpayer and a business owner and a homeowner, you know, I've had very pleasant experiences with the staff there, and I think Jimmy's done a great job of putting them together, and I don't have any intent to make any changes to the staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Paige Cherry, same question. What changes, if any, would you make in the way the treasurer's office is managed?
I agree with Elizabeth that he has a great staff, two wonderful chief deputies who would probably be very good candidates for the job, who would be very good candidates for the job. But one thing I would do is establish a business liaison. As sitting on council, you get the complaints from everywhere. And sometimes businesses don't feel like they're being heard, or they have to go around and around, as we say, going back and forth to get the answer. I would establish, have a person who's a liaison that they can go to for all their problems, for all their issues, a person who's empowered to actually help them, and so they don't have to run around. I got a call a few months back from a business owner who paid his taxes with a personal check. And he was told that he couldn't pay your taxes with a personal check, but his check was deposited. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Then he couldn't get his money back. So after trying and trying, he came into his council representative. So I had to get personally involved to get his money back for him, so he wouldn't have to pay his taxes twice. So I would have a person there that can take care of that for him, those businesses who be in the business community, go to the business community meetings, and be their liaison and let them know they have a voice in the treasurer's office. I also would have interns. I talked to a young lady in City Hall last week who's been there for 33 years, who came there as a high school, 11th grader in high school. We don't have any of that anymore. there will be opportunity for our young folks to learn about finance, business, and City Hall from the ground up, and keep them in the city. There were 2 people in the office did that. One went off to college, came back. One that went to college just stayed here. So the management of the office, I think the 2 chief deputies do a great job, but those are things I would institute to make it better for the citizens. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ron Melton, same question. The question was, what changes, if any, would you make in the way the treasurer's office is managed?
I don't think I'd make much change at all. We have a very fine-tuned office. We have a great staff. It runs like clockwork. But I want to go back to what Ms. Simmons said about opening the office. Commissioner of Revenue's office and the Treasurer's office are 2 different animals. Mr. James Williams set up those cubicles for one reason: privacy. When you're talking about your taxes, you don't want to be sitting there and somebody sitting over here at another desk with nothing separating you. When you're talking about your tax situation, it's a private matter. And he did that for that reason, and it works. And so to open up our office like the commissioner's office, it just wouldn't work. But you have to go forward with the management. Again, we have a great staff. It's fine-tuned. My management style would be to let my staff do their job. I know each and every one of the 26 people that work in that office, including the treasurer. I know what they all do. I know what they're supposed to do. And they do it, and they do it to the best of their abilities, which is fantastic. I think you can attest to that with your own situations with the treasurer's office. Thank you.
And you'll have first crack at this next question also. And it's going to dovetail into what you just talked about. What personnel changes, if any, would you make during your first year in office?
None?
Thank you. Paige Cherry.
As I said, Mr. Williams, we congratulate him. He has a great staff. He has two chief deputies who do an outstanding job. You don't walk into an organization, and I have had to do that during my career, move from place to place. I worked for the Army, I worked for the Navy, I worked for the Coast Guard, and I've served in the Army. And you know, you move around. And since I was in office, I was always in charge of something somewhere. You go into an office, you look around, you see what they need. Your job is to provide what they need to be successful, not to go in and just start moving people around. And that's not my intention. My intention is to go into the office and look around, see what I can do to make their jobs better, improve the desktop machines that they're working on now. They're dated. But you gotta be able to work with City Council to get them the CIP to make those things happen. That's what I would do. No personnel changes, but technology changes, yes.
All right, thank you, sir. Elizabeth Simmons, second question.
I hate to say this, but I agree with Vice Mayor Cherry 100%. Exactly what he said. No changes. Just, look at what we can do to make the office more efficient, from a technology standpoint. But I have no intention to make any changes at all.
All right, thank you. The next question, and Paige Cherry, you'll start this round off. How long do you estimate it would take you to master the duties of the office to assure its smooth operation?
I don't imagine it take me long at all since I, deal with money on a daily basis and have been doing it in the current position for the last 7 years, managing it for the 42 Coast Guard clinics and the resource management for the last 25 years. I would go in there and take a look around, look at the operation. As far as the management part, I don't need any training. I'm proven. Some of you have my literature, but some of you have seen me work on City Council. So it wouldn't take me long at all to go in there. I just got to learn the people, the personalities, and see what they need to be successful. But as far as, there is no learning curve for me to go to the treasurer's office with the amount of work that I do and the amount of dollars that I manage on a daily basis. There would be none. So I'd be ready to go in there on the day one and get the job done.
Thank you. Elizabeth Simmons, same question. How long do you estimate it would take you to master the duties of the office to assure smooth operation?
Well, at the 30,000-foot level, day one, I'm fine. Learning what the people actually do, that's going to take a while. I'm not going to tell you that I'm going to know what everybody does in the first week. It's going to take a few months to learn who Susie and Mary and Johnny are and what exactly they do and what they need to maybe do it better, faster, quicker, cheaper, more efficiently. That takes several months. I don't expect to know how to do everything everybody does in the first few months. But at the 30,000-foot level and dealing with the big picture, I'm great on day one.
All right, thank you. Ron Melton, same question.
I think they was a bit optimistic. I've been in this office over 10 years. I'm learning right now still every day. Even though I know that from day one I can take over and do this job because I do it, I know what everyone does. I can tell you that it took me 3-4 years to get up to speed on it. We have so many systems that we're working with. It would be the end of the first term for them to get up to speed. We work with real estate, state tax, personal property, cigarette tax, business tax. So many local taxes. I mean, amusement tax. Taxes you probably don't even think about. But again, it takes some time to learn these things. I've been in there over a decade. I feel pretty comfortable with it now. I could have said that 4 years ago, 6 years ago, when I just finished my first 4 years. So I think, again, it's optimistic on their part to say that they could be comfortable day one. I don't think that's quite right, but I am starting to feel, I am comfortable in there now, and I can take off on day one. Thank you.
All right, this is the final of the general questions. Then we'll go to your closing statement. And you'll be doing your closing statements in the same order as this last question, as you'll be answering this last question. We'll start with you, Elizabeth Simmons. What are your thoughts about the practice of booting or towing vehicles belonging to delinquent taxpayers?
Well, the practice of booting, I mean, nobody likes it. But the fact of the matter is the taxes need to be paid. Now, what's important is that everybody is treated the same way and given a fair opportunity to get those taxes paid. As long as we treat Mary and Johnny the same way and give them the same amount of time to pay those taxes, when all is said and done, I don't know any other way to do it. Now, there's booting on city streets, there's booting on private property. Got to be careful how you do that, but you got to get the taxes paid. And in all fairness, Mr. Williams has about a 99% collection rate. So there's no problem there with getting the taxes in, and you got to get them the way you can get them, as long as it's done fairly. I don't have a problem.
Thank you. Ron Melton, same question about the booting or towing of vehicles belonging to delinquent taxpayers.
I am the guy that sends the boot file to the contractor. I'm that guy. And I'll tell you, it's an emotional issue. We have had every situation you might imagine when we boot cars. We've had pregnant women on the little Walmart parking lot. It's 110 degrees. I've had your mother out there with her oxygen bottle. I've had people going to the doctor, children going to whatever, trying to pick them up from school. It is an emotional issue, but we follow a step-by-step process in our distress collection activity. We start with the first bill, and I'm talking personal property now, your vehicle tax. We start with the first bill, we then have a final notice. We go through several steps of distress collection before we get to the final step of the booting and seizing of vehicles. Unfortunately, it's a necessary evil sometimes, but we do give everyone the opportunity to pay that bill in a timely manner. We even set up payment arrangements with you. But unfortunately, we do have to seize vehicles sometimes, and that will probably continue, unfortunately. Thank you.
Page Cherry, the same question about booting and towing vehicles belonging to delinquent taxpayers.
Yeah, I think the booting ought to be a last resort, absolutely, because the person who's getting their car booted is part of the persons who can least afford it. It's probably the only means of transportation to get to work, to get their babies to daycare, or get to school. So part of my liaison program, reaching out to them to try to set up something, to find a way before we get to that. If it becomes absolutely necessary, yes, but it shouldn't be a part of, I wouldn't want to be a part of the regular, everyday routine that we just go out every day looking for cars to boot. First, we ought to try to work with people, find out what the issues are, put up a payment plan, and if we can work something out before it, because let's face it, you got to pay the taxes, get the boot off, and by that time, somebody might have lost a job. We've heard all the stories in City Hall, but I lost my job because I couldn't get there because my car was booted. Yeah, I've heard those stories before. So that would be the absolute last resort to boot somebody's car. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Candidates, that's all of the prepared questions. We'll go to audience questions in just a moment, but before we do that, you have 3 minutes each to make a closing statement, and we'll start with you, Elizabeth Simmons.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, this election comes down to trust. Who do you trust to accept and invest billions, with a B, of your dollars over the next 4 years? I encourage you to come join me 3 weeks from tonight on the Carrie B, August 17th at 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. The tour boat will be docked at the foot of High Street. She's not sailing. So come and hear more about my platform. Have something good to eat, something cold to drink. This is going to be an important election about the future of this city and how your dollars, my dollars, are handled. It's critically important that you elect a treasurer that you can trust, that you believe in, and that you believe. I have served you as a public servant for many years. I ask you to continue that trust in me as your treasurer for the city of Portsmouth on November 7th. Thank you.
Ron Melton.
Thank you. I have been endorsed by the incumbent, Mr. James Williams. He has said that I am the most worthy candidate. What I'd like to do is leave you with this one thought. When you go to vote November the 7th, remember, you are actually hiring for this position at that time. When you walk in that voting booth, when you make your mark or you click the switch, and you want to hire the most qualified person for this position, and I honestly believe the most qualified position or person for this position is me. I've done the job. I can do the job. I have the education, qualifications, and the experience it takes to be the next treasurer. Thank you so much for your time tonight. I appreciate it.
Paige Cherry, if you would please.
You want someone for this job who can do it right now. Not someone who's got to figure it out. I've managed millions of dollars every day, have done billions of dollars in 1 year. Why can I do it the first day? I was an army officer. You go to a new location, you don't have, you do this in 3 years, you don't have 4 years to figure it out. I never had that time to figure it out. But I manage people right now who do the job, who do the work that they do in the treasurer's office. They take the money in, they make the purchases, they send out the checks. So I can do that right now. So I have to go in and learn it, I have to go in and figure it out. I manage financial management specialists, I manage contract specialists, I do it every day. So there's no learning curve. You want someone who can go in and do it right now, who has the money. The big numbers don't scare me because I see them every day. and I've seen them in the last 25 years, as opposed to, no offense, Ron, but you wouldn't have made a good Army officer, because if it took you 3 years to figure it out, your tour would have been over before you got there. So I can do the job now. I've been doing the job. You've seen my work on council. You've seen my financial acumen. You don't have to question whether I can do it. You know it. You just have to give me the credit and give me that vote on November 7th. Thank you.
All right, candidates, thank you very much. And now comes the fun part of the forum. This is where audience members get to ask a question. If you have a question, please raise your hand. Someone will come to you with a microphone. If you don't wish to be taped, please indicate that at the very beginning. So the other thing about this is there's no time limits. I will ask you to ask questions like we did in radio, bright, brief, and relevant. I will exercise moderator's privilege if you go too long or you're pontificating. This is an exercise to ask a question and get an answer. So we have a question over here. If we could, yes, sir. If you'd like to start. Thank you.
Hello?
There you go.
I'd like to revisit the very first question. Our schools were embroiled in a fiscal misconduct situation that resulted in a grand jury investigation. Our city is sitting on somewhere in the neighborhood, I believe, of $675 million of debt. We're leveraged somewhere 70–75% of our debt limit. Credentials mean a lot, but they mean nothing if you don't use them. Mr. Cherry, in particular, I'd like to direct this question to you. Your explanation about the email sounds a whole lot like the dog ate my homework. If you're not competent enough to manage a single, simple calendar date, what other proof do you have to offer to us that you can make the treasurer's office run better and more efficiently?
Ms. Carroll, I was competent enough to process $1.3 billion worth of contracts for the federal government in 1 year. I'm competent enough to manage $23 million for them on a daily basis right now. It's part of the $400 million budget. I'm competent enough to manage people bi-coastal. So I'm more than competent to do this job, more than qualified. There's no one probably in this room who has never had a misstep. I had one. I admitted it. Yes, I did. But my life, my whole life of service, has been about accomplishments and making things happen, particularly in resource management, manpower, acquisition, contracting, and financing. All the things that it takes to make this office run efficiently. That's why I'm competent to do the job.
All right, any other questions? Question over here. There's a microphone to your left, so.
Mr. Milton, I'd like to ask you what kind of audits the city treasurer participates in. What kind of knowledge is required to be effective in such an audit, and why do you think that you have that knowledge?
Well, every year we have a state income tax audit. We also have several audits. Every year we have an audit to balance the books, make sure that our money is correct. I have sat in on a couple of these audits. I can't say that I'm an expert on this, because we bring outside auditors in, of course, particularly for the state income tax side. And then we have, again, another outside audit come in for our books. I think that's the extent of my answer for you on that.
Okay, question over here.
Mine's more of a comment. I was notified a week ago about this meeting tonight, and when I questioned the person I was talking to on the phone, I don't know the person's name, I asked who the candidates were. They told me it was Elizabeth Simmons, Mr. Page Cherry, and there was a third candidate, but they didn't know who it was. And I thought that was kind of ironic because the third candidate has been working in that office for over 10 years, and they didn't know who it was. So I guess he's the other guy that he's got my support because he's been doing it for 10 years at least. And everybody else up there has said that this is a well-oiled machine and it's 99% bringing in the appropriate money that they're supposed to be bringing in. And the present city treasurer also, I think, is going to back the other guy. So that's my only comment.
All right, are there any other questions? Any questions? Right here, sorry. Microphone's coming to you now. Yes, ma'am.
This is for Mr. Cherry. Good evening, Mr. Cherry. You mentioned that as city treasurer, one of your responsibilities would be to invest the taxpayers' money wisely. Can you give an example of how you would do that?
Yes, you know, I had the good fortune to serve on the City Municipal Finance Commission and the Finance Commission. Matter of fact, I served with Mr. Bruce Lalonde when he was chair. And part of that job in the commission was to advise the treasurer on the investment of our monies. Didn't always go as well as we would like, but the treasurer decided last year or so to finally take the advice that we tried to give, 12 years ago, maybe, Bruce? And we made $450,000. Imagine if we had been doing that for the last 10, 12 years, we could have targeted that money for schools, for educational programs, for other city programs that we wanted to have. And that's what and to have that money diversified to the right portfolio. And we have some fine financial institutions right here in Portsmouth that were founded in Portsmouth that are not a big part of the financial investment picture. That's what I would do. Diversify that money, make sure a lot of that money turns over in Portsmouth, and target it. If I could get the city council to agree with it, target that for those things that we really want to do, we need to do, but we just don't have the funds to do. You know, I run another organization called the Prince Organizers of Virginia, and I've been on that finance committee there, the investment committee, for the last 10 years. We use a local firm called Scottsfield and Springfield. There, I was able to lead them to just put the interest on that money, to buy a fine piece of property in Kilmarnock, Virginia, that we're now using for youth programs in that area. So those are the kind of things we can do. And I have the expertise. I've been doing it for a while, and I would bring that to the treasurer's office and enhance it. And maybe next year we can even have even more money targeted for some of those programs that we need to make happen here. Thank you.
Would either of you like to chime in on that same question?
I want to answer that question for you about the investments. Right now, Mr. Williams, we have an investment program right now where we invest in long-term and short-term CDs through the banks that we work with, Wells Fargo, Town Bank. We also invest overnight in the liquid governmental investment pool, which is something that's offered to treasurers throughout the state. And we, right now, are at a 5-year high in our investment income. So I just wanted to add that for you. Thank you.
Question up here. Yes, sir.
My question is, I've heard you say tonight that you've been dealing with billions of dollars of taxpayers' money, government money. What are you gonna, do you feel like you're gonna have a problem transitioning from you being given $1 billion to manage those funds to going out and collecting them?
No, sir, I don't. The numbers are the numbers. Whether you receive them, on my current job, we receive some and we pay some. I do it now, so it won't be a big transition. You know, and as a matter of fact, I'm about, at this time of year, for those who work for the federal government, Mr. Lalonde will know this, you come to a point where you, towards the end of the year, you have to do sweeps, where you have to take money. And it's part of, it's a similar process. So no, it won't be a major adjustment at all. Thank you.
Question down here.
Hi, this question is for Elizabeth Simmons. Mrs. Simmons, you had spoken before about improving technology in the treasurer's office. Could you elaborate on that, and do you think that financially it's a realistic goal for our city?
I think that whether it's financially feasible goes back to working with the city government. I can't sit here and tell you what we need, but as a user, I know it could be better. And so my goal would be to see what the level is and what is needed, and then, work with the city council on purchasing something, or work with the state if there's an opportunity through the state or state purchasing to get into a different system. It shouldn't be as hard as it is this day and time to pay some of these bills. And again, Mr. Milton mentioned the sending out the personal property tax bills, in paper instead of, on a computer anymore. For those who are computer literate and choose to have it that way, it's a huge savings for the city too, to not send all that mail out. So I really think, kind of not too different than, when we made a major change some years ago when we got rid of the city sticker. You still pay the tax, but you don't have the sticker on the windshield of your car. That's the kind of change that can happen when you think on the global level. Talk to your other treasurers in other cities. See what best practices are. I think that, I've reached out to the other city treasurers already to see what some of them are doing. And what works for them and what might work better for Portsmouth. Because it just, we've got a great thing going, but there's always room for improvement. Just as the city has just gone through a major change in the computer system for the finances of the city, make sure we're all up to date at every level in all of the offices.
Other candidates? All right, Mr. Melton, if you would.
I'd just like to say that the billing system that we have in place right now, it works pretty well. Our real estate return is 99% for the fiscal year 2016. Our return on personal property tax is at 96%. Now, we do have in the works a financial package or an electronic billing system for personal property tax, where you will be able to go in with your email address, with the password of your choosing, and be able to access your personal property bill online, and with the link be able to pay online as well. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Cherry.
I just want to say, I've talked to some of the other city treasurers about some of the things we need to do and some suggestions. And I talked earlier about upgrading workstations, but also the point of sale system. And one of the systems that were brought to my attention is a revenue billing system, laserfish system, to help them. You can have everything online, see it online, and don't have to store it. All these things to save us money. So I've done the research on that, and some of the systems are similar to things that I work with every day now, which cities just have to get up to speed on them. And that's going to require, though, just have this great ideas to want to do all this. But you got to be able to work with your colleagues, the council, to make sure that you get in CIP to make it happen. And no one has been more successful at that in the last 7 years, getting things in CIP than me.
Any more questions? Up here.
Billing system works very well, and I'd like to disagree with that. Last year, my car was booted, and I paid $475 for the boot, for a car that I owned in 2006 and 2007. I owned this car for 9 months, it was totaled, and I did not receive a bill for 8 years. My car was booted, and I had to pay $2,500 in a tax for a car that I owned for 9 months. So I really disagree with how well your billing system works, and truly the competency of people in your office.
Right. We were sending out in 2006 and 2007 the year the bill was due. We will send the first notice, then we will send the final notice. But there could have been a problem with your mailing address. You could have moved, I don't know if you stayed in state, in city, moved out of city, same address. But again, we don't send bills out 8 years down the road. So if for whatever, we depend on the Postal Service. We sent out 68,000 bills this year, and people do not get their bills for whatever day. The Postal Service, we depend on them. And people are coming in our office now saying, well, I didn't get this bill. Well, we try and we want to get it to you, which I think the reason for the electronic billing system is pertinent at this point. Now, you only owned the car for 9 months. Did you get the bill prorated? I mean, sounds like you told me you got 2 years worth of bills, 2006 and 7, but you only owned it for 9 months during 1 year. So did you make that trip to the commissioner's office or get them a phone call?
I sure did.
And did they prorate the bill back for 9 months?
They did not. They said it was too far up the side.
Well,
Need a cubicle, don't tell all of them.
that's right. So, I mean,
But you would have moved 8 years later. Doesn't make sense.
well, I am sorry for that. And did that get worked out?
It did not.
It did not. Well, we have those instances where we just can't get it every 100%. I'm sorry for that. I do apologize. But you said something about the staff being incompetent?
I think that if I don't receive a bill for 8 years, but my car is booted 8 years later, that there are some incompetent people in that office. That is correct.
Well, that's not the incompetence on the staff's part. Could be the incompetence on the system's part. I mean, we will, like I said, we do not send bills out 8 years later. We will only send them out, we'll send out a maximum of 2 bills. If we don't get a payment, we'll send out the original bill, no payment, we'll send out the final notice. And that's all we'll send. And then we expect, hopefully, you to, ultimately the taxes are the citizens' responsibility. If you didn't get the bill, we would like to, maybe you should have come to us sooner and said, hey, man, I didn't get a bill for this car. So, again, I apologize for that.
All right, any more questions? One more question.
I want the room to know this before I ask the question, that I've always been a strong supporter of Elizabeth Simmons. She's always done well in the city council range. About 3 weeks ago, I heard a disturbing, and this is to you, Ms. Simmons, a disturbing rumor that a state senator has approached you to run until sometime in October and then to quit and pass your support on to Mr. Cherry. Is any part of that true?
First I've heard of that.
All right, everyone, if you would, let's thank the candidates for being here tonight. Councilwoman Elizabeth Simmons, Mr. Tom Melton, Vice Mayor Paige Cherry. Thank you all for being here and doing an excellent job this evening. And people from Portsmouth, thank you for having me back. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Before you all leave, we have several things. We have bagel nuts. We only have 8 boxes of bagel nuts. So if you would buy them, we get some money from the bagel nuts. We also have tickets to a barbecue September the 16th, where we're going to have Soul Intent play, and we're going to have Ruck's Barbecue. Somebody said to me, why do you need money? Last year on the council races, we spent $25,000 in print material, and we spent $10,000 on Pilot Online. That's why we need money, to advertise for the candidates we support. Please stop by this table. You've got Connie Hartung and you've got Fred Schoenfeld, they've got squares. We'll take your money for the bagel nuts, we'll take your money for the tickets on September 16th, which are only $25 each, and we'll just take your money. So please don't leave without being generous to this table. Thank you so much for coming tonight. We really appreciate it.